a lot to actually help with, and has done a lot of work in terms of how, like basically today, the kind of thing we're doing today will be useful and effective. So we're also going to lead the session. We'll be about half an hour. Obviously, if you have any questions, then ask him or ask me. Also, we've got Jack down there, so he's the representative today of the men's fours. We did ask some of the other captains to come, but well, one of them's out there to be fair today. But some of the others can make it. Bill and I, as I said, both in the threes, so obviously we've got the men's threes and fours represented at least. I'll hand over to Bill.
Cheers all. Who here has heard of Ed Welsh? A few of you? Graham Welsh, maybe? Okay, so Ed is Graham's son. Has anybody heard of Ian Gordon or Gordo? Some of you know? No. So this session's been put together by me and by those two. So Ed Welsh is currently at UMass, so University of Massachusetts. He is the head coach for the female squad in university. He's got a budget of $200,000 for that team alone, because the US is very, very ambitious in terms of competitive hockey. And Ed's career in hockey as a coach and as a player goes back. Started with Watford Boys, went to West Herts, he then went to Perth. He got selected for the Australian outdoor team, and as an Englishman he took great pleasure in saying, actually I'm English. So he was selected for the indoor team, interestingly. So he's played at the very, very highest level, and he's just recently moved to Canterbury, where he's player coach for the ladies, where he's playing for the men's, but his ladies coach took them to the European Cup finals. So he's got a pretty impressive career. He's one of the most successful hockey players that have come out of Watford Grammar in a number of years. Ian Gordon also was at Watford Grammar. He was in our first team for 8-9 years. He has had a very interesting path very recently because he decided to go to Wimbledon, who are current champions, and that allowed him to play European hockey. So he sort of stepped up from playing West Herts ones in Premier and then in the National League Conference East, and then now he's playing at the very highest level going into Europe. So those two guys helped me put this together. My part of this is, on the weekend I play hockey, and I've just had a recent opportunity which has come to me in the last 3 or 4 years, which is hopefully going to end up me with the same England badge that Kieran gets to wear at my age group. But in my day job, I'm a communication psychologist, and I specialise in developing people, helping leaders develop their people, but helping individuals develop themselves. So, and I know the value of goal setting, and I've experienced it myself in my work life. I got a bit lazy, I haven't done it for a few years, and I've suddenly recently discovered it within my hockey life, which I have to say has come as a complete surprise to me, because I wasn't expecting to play at that level. Anybody who's played with me, a couple of Toms in the room, Tom as well, they're probably also surprised about that as well. Because they're technically not a great player, but I have other assets that I've identified that England need, and boy, I'm going to take advantage of those, and that's where I hope to end up, to watch this space. So this session's about you guys setting goals for yourselves. I've got one piece of paper which I'm going to ask you to do a process with me now, and I want you to take that away and use that. So I'll give you a bit of paper in a short while which you can work on. Has anybody done any goal setting for themselves? Yes. What's your name? Melissa, you've done some goal setting at school or in your hockey, or what sort of part of your life?
Just for the elite team.
For the elite hockey? Yeah, excellent. And was that with East or West Herts or school or what?
West Herts.
West Herts. Okay. So has anybody else done any goal setting? No? I know that you've done some?
Only like the elite thing.
The elite thing. Okay, good. It's there's a few. It's Tom Gwynn Evans. He's a very good runner. He's probably done it in that world. Tom Watts was in tennis system, yeah. And did you do it with that process?
A little bit.
A little bit in there. Another Tommy Armand, is an extremely good musician. He's done it in that world. So what we find is, and this is pretty robust data, when Harvard Business School did some research, Harvard is a very esteemed business school, 83% of the interviewed thousands, 83% of people didn't set goals. No surprise. Probably the same numbers here. Maybe 3 people have set some goals, everybody else hasn't. Of the people who did set goals, 14% had it in their head. They were 10 times more successful. 3% wrote it down. and they were 30 times more successful in achieving their goals. So whether your goal is to go from playing 7s to 6s to 5s to 4s, or whether your goal is go from county to East to international, if you set the goals and you write them down, you are 30 times more likely to achieve it. And Ed Welsh said to me on the phone, I was talking to him from Massachusetts yesterday, the day before, he said, a dream is just a dream until you have a process. And the goal setting we're going to talk about today is about the process. How are you going to get up that level? You're not going to suddenly one day wake up and go, I'm playing for West Herts first. And then 2 days later or 3 months later you're playing for East or you're playing for international. That's not going to happen. You have to plan it. So we know from the data that setting goals will dramatically increase your chance of achieving them, because they're going to be measurable, they're going to be motivational because you're going to see some progress, they're going to be realistic, I'm talking about SMART goals, they're going to be very, very specific. And that's the bit that's really surprised me, that actually the more specific they are, the easier they are to know if you've achieved them. So very specific stuff that I'm working on. Actually, thanks to Ian Gordon, who is a personal trainer, and conversations with Ed and with Graham Welsh. So what we're going to do goal setting today. Some people have already done it and they'll be able to help others. And I'm here and Kieran's here just to help you guys through it. I'm going to talk you through the process, but it's up to you. It's not about me and my ideas, it's about you and your ideas. What do you want to achieve? So as I introduce the concept of goal setting and the various layers we're going to go through, start thinking, what is it I want to achieve? It could be this season. It could be GCSEs. It doesn't have to be sport. It could be A-levels. It could be what university am I going to get to, and am I going to get a 2-1 or a first? It could be your business career, in the future. So when I spoke to Ed, let's take this as a timeline. I guess most people here are over 14, roughly, 13, whatever. Okay, so 14 to 18, 18 to 22, 22 to 24, 24 to 28, 30 plus. Bill Anderson, 50 plus. I'm 53. I'm playing at the moment for 50 to 55. Still aiming at England. Somebody went, wow, he doesn't look that old. Ed Welsh, probably the most successful hockey career from a Watford boy for many years. He started goal setting here as a player and then got very serious about, sorry, that's wrong. He started goal setting here as a player and here as a coach. Interestingly enough, his coaching now funds his MBA. So his education is coming together with the sport. Gordo, he is 8 years younger, 7, 8 years younger. He started as a player, 29, 34, whatever. Anyway, he's younger. He's slightly younger, he's another generation. He started setting his goals as a player here. He's now playing in Europe. This guy is now in America getting paid handsomely for his coaching. Bill, I started setting targets here as a player. Never thought I could achieve it. Went from county to East, had an England trial in November last year. Can't believe it. I'm not actually that good, as Tom would tell you. But still opportunity. Interesting though, as a businessman, when I set my first company up here, I had 5-year goals every 5 years, and my business grew like that. Gordo would say the same. He went to Wimbledon against his targets, his career's done that. Ed, here, did that. And again. Otherwise, my hockey playing career was like this. Suddenly, like that. As soon as I started doing goal setting, started achieving those goals, it was quite surprising. And I got help from Gordo to help me with that, and Ed to help me with that. So that's why I think it's useful. So you might find this. You might find suddenly you're achieving those little goals you're setting yourself, the very specific activities, and then, would you believe it, you're now knocking on the door of the East team, and you're knocking on the door of the national side. You're getting trial. Anybody who's going to be going to university shortly, that will be a totally different ballgame from what you're used to here. And that was an interesting comment that Gordo made about his university. He was at West Herts, bumbling along, doing quite well at school. suddenly went to university, it's like, holy wow, I'm playing alongside under 18, under 21 internationals, and these guys are playing 5-6 times a week. And they're taking it very seriously. He didn't start his goal setting until after that experience, so he's way behind them now. Went to Wimbledon, can't believe it. It's fantastic, he's enjoying it, but boy, it's hard, because they're so keen, because they're moving up there through their goals. So that's sort of a bit of background to why I think it's useful. So, any comments on that? Anybody want to sort of say anything? Anybody, maybe parents who have set goals, or brothers, sisters? No?
I can give one example in terms of our junior section. So we set goals 2 years ago about our membership growth and our teams, basically how many teams we have, how well we do. And actually the growth we've seen in the section has been very sharp in the last 2 years. So actually just hearing that makes me reflect on that, and it definitely has been the case.
So it's up to you guys if you want, and you don't have to just keep this to hockey. This could be anything else. So I'm going to show you the model we're going to go through. This is adapted from a lot of the work I do in communication psychology with big corporations, and it's an adaptation of a whole load of different models. I love it because it comes from this, which is a book by an international, well, an Olympic gold medalist in rowing. And so it's a lot of it comes out of this book. It's very simple stuff. It's quite an interesting read. Will it make will it make the goat go faster? Will it make the boat go faster? That's, so he's a rowing ant. He's not interested in anything else. If it makes the boat go faster, I'll do it. If it doesn't, forget it. Didn't have much of a social life for 8 years because he didn't make the boat go faster. But he got there. And so we're going to go through this process. The first layer of this is a series of layers. So the first layer is what we call the crazy layer. Crazy layer. Love it. It's very informal language. This is your dream. For this guy, he wanted to be the Olympic champion. That was it. That was right up there. Then we have what we call the concrete layer. So here, what's your dream? Don't make it, I want to be president of the United States. I mean, don't make it ridiculous. Don't make it so out of sight. It might be I want to get 9 A stars at GCSE. It might be I want to get 4 A's at A-level. Whatever they do now, 1 to 9. Confusing. It might be, I want to play for West Herts 3s this year. Or 4s. It might be, something that's achievable, slightly a stretch, but more achievable. But the concrete layer, this is what you know about that. So our Olympian, he wanted to win gold. What he knew about it is that if they broke the world record, they would probably win gold. So that was one focus they had. This is the dream, this is the concrete. If we break the world record, we'll win gold. We then have the control layer, and this is what can you control. That's not what everybody else around you is going to control, it's not what they're going to contribute, it's what you can actually control. For our Olympian, win gold, break the world record, train harder than anybody else has ever trained for this sport. When you read the book, it's awful. There's a lot of throwing up goes on in that book. Unbelievable. Passing out, it's just scary stuff. That was what they could control. They could control what they could put their bodies through. And in the end, there was also stuff about diet and injury avoidance. Amazing. I mean, we're not trying to be Olympic champions, so you don't have to be scared by that. And then finally, you have daily actions. It could be daily or it could be weekly. I want to be Olympic gold medalist. If I break the world record, that's what I'll achieve. I can control my fitness. So what I do every day is I work extremely hard on specific muscle groups. I take care of my diet, my hydration, my mental processes using visualization. So all this stuff came together. So for me, and this is the stuff that happened, this happened to me 3 years ago. Ooh, I think I can play for England. That's quite surprising. Concrete layer, I know that I need tactically to be very good. I need technically, I need to be very good. Fitness needs to be very good. And the last one for me was socialisation. What I mean by that is I need to get myself in front of the selectors. You know how teams have cliques? Every team has a clique. You'll find this at West Hart. You know, you can't get out there on the pitch and just turn up and suddenly play with them. You have to build a relationship with them. So there's a social side. I recognise I'm not going to get selected for England on my first trial. No way. Probably not the second. But by the time I get to the third, they know who this guy is. I mean, I was wearing a scrum cap at the first one because of injury, so I stood out. So I had an advantage. It wasn't tactical, but actually, maybe that's a good idea in the future. So there's a social side. So in the concrete layer, we've got tactical ability, we've got technical ability, we've got fitness, and then we've got the social side, or what we might call exposure. You're not going to get picked by the third team if the third team don't know who the hell you are, obviously. You've got to get in front of them, you've got to turn up to the training, you've got to make a bit of an impression somehow. And for me in here, and this may be some of you, because we all have different physical capability, this was about injury prevention as well. Because international hockey is tournament hockey, it all happens over a long weekend. We play 5 games in a weekend. You've got to avoid injury as well. So these were the concrete layers for me. And then I went, okay, so what can I control? Tactically, I'm quite good because I've been playing for a bloody long time, but I can spend a little bit more time watching what Kieran says and does. So I make the effort to come and I keep my eyes and ears open. I'm listening to what this guy's saying, and other coaches, and talking to Ed. So here, I'm spending a little bit of time on that, definitely. Technical, this is my big weakness, as the boys will tell you. It's not that great. They can wobble around me, all of these guys. So I need to improve, and I've actually picked 3 areas of improvement for me specifically. So it's very specific. It's pass completion, which is critical. It's the aerial ball, and then it's the reverse. So all through the summer, I came down. Had to be down here for Hockey Fives. Came down here 45 minutes early every night, every time we had it, and I spent 45 minutes in front of the goal just teaching myself how to do that. Now I'm using it in a game situation, so I'm sort of making progress on that. Got to work on the aerial. This one here was quite interesting. At the England trial, I played right wing up in that level. I'm wobbling around the back, pass it across, centre forward, drags it from here, scores. On the way back, he's going, great pass. Next time, do you mind putting it 6 inches further forward? It's like you're bloody lucky to get it from me, quite frankly. but pass completion isn't just about, oh, I've managed to get it to Tom and he's struggled to retrieve it. It's about Tom wants it here and Tom gets it here. So this is what I'm working on here. This is where I had a lot of help from Gordo. This is my asset. So even in West Hart's 3s, being 3 years older than many of them, I'm probably one of the fittest. Aren't I? Yeah, possibly. But at my age group, way out in front. But I've got to avoid injury. So Gordo, he's gone from the board, Gordo's given me some very specific muscle group training, which helps avoid that. So I'm well on the way to that. And then this bit I'm pretty good at. Yeah, because I've got quite a big mouth and I'm pro-sociable. So we're doing quite well there. So I've got some stuff. I've got to work hard on this. I've got to work hard on this. Obviously maintaining these. So then I go down to this, so what am I actually going to do? And that's the bit that's interesting, because here, I'll give you an example. I come down to the pitch and I practice. I've got to start using this stuff in training. Here, this is watching and listening and studying. And then here, I train 5 times a week on something. I'm either playing or training or doing my own stuff 5 times a week. And it's very specific. I run a 10K, just under 10K, because that's how far a busy midfielder will run in a hockey match. 5.25 miles. So that's what I run. I run 5.5. Just a little bit further. It's very specific. I've worked it out. It's not a fluke. It's not just guesswork. It's actually accurate. And then with my other injury prevention, I'm doing some very specific training on what my body is telling me I need. So really, then it's easy to do. Then I just go, okay, today I'm doing this training session. So, this is more difficult. I've just been invited to England trials again. I'm never going to miss them. I'm not going to get in, I know that, but I'm going to be working hard on this side. They're going to know who the hell I am. If I score, I'm just going to have a little, I'm not going to go crazy in the corner, but I'm just going to let them know I scored. I'm going to run in the direction, the eye line with the selector. Did you see that goal? Just mark me down for another point in the column. So I'm thinking about it all the time. So, does that make sense? Yeah? That's what I want to do now. Now, you guys have never done this before, In fact, I haven't done it for very long, so I'm not an expert at this. So don't beat yourself up if it's not all coming to you clearly straight away. But I want you to write, I'm going to give you a bit of paper which replicates this, and we're just going to work through it slowly. So I'm going to go through it more slowly, and I want you to start writing some things down. And then keeping this, and evolving it. So gents, one each, there, if you don't mind. One each, ladies, on there. One each on there, pass around. And then, you pass that to the table. You pass that to the table. I really want that, sorry, I really want one. Jesus! Can't be Jesus. You can't be Jesus, that Johnson. Any spare ones?